Hi guys, how are you? Figured I'd start this podcast something new. I don't know. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us on this glorious hump day, if that is when you decided to listen. And if not, thanks for finally getting around to us. I know you've been busy. We appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
What a fantastic episode today, if I don't say so myself. Our guest today, Paul de Gelder. I can't.
I'm not even going to attempt it.
Paul de Gelder. He's Australian. He sounds much better than I do, trying to sound Australian. What a fascinating guy. He's been through so much. He has an amazing story. I don't want to give too much away, but Paul's dealt with some tragedy in his life, some personal conflict, and he survived it, and he is thriving, and he is spreading his story to help other people with their trials and struggles and personal conflict. And he's also the host of Shark Week, and Shark Week is upon us for you Shark Week fans out there. What a great conversation. Also, thank you, Chrissy, for getting Paul to do this. I have you to thank. But I think once again, just kind of another interesting guest in the lineup of guests that we've had on recently, and I just I enjoyed so much talking to Paul and hearing his story. It's fascinating. It's thought-provoking, and it's certainly like a lot of people who've had their struggles. Really gives us some perspectives in how we face our own lives, and just kind of like Paul kind of talked about, just, choosing to have the frame of mind we need to, be happy and stay motivated. And
choice is power, I think.
Choice is power. So yeah, it was, I really enjoyed it. And I think I'll just stop rambling and get to Paul.
Can't stop rambling. We did our poll. There was an overwhelming consensus.
Viall Files?
It was Viall
Well,
Files.
we had other suggestions, which, by the way, thanks for all the litany of...
Violettes. Liked it. Like I said,
Violettes.
bachelorettes, violettes.
Well, I mean, listen.
But there is that 10% out there.
Our audience is very much female, so that would make sense. But then I feel like we're leaving out,
Yeah. There was violators.
I used to have we met in football tournaments, and I would make T-shirts for my fake team, my video game football team, and I called myself the Violators. So that's been around in my life for a while.
But I love that everybody got into it and sent in so many suggestions and so many names, and people really had fun with it. So
I appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
And as always, guys, we thank you for listening. And before we get to Paul, obviously, we always appreciate your reviews on iTunes if they're 5 stars. And if you're listening and you take the time to do that, just know that I personally appreciate it.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Those Wi-Fi's, they got you.
Yeah, Viall get to it. Well, if there's nothing else, I say we get to Paul, and I think you're gonna enjoy this one. Paul, thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure, mate.
I'm really excited to have this chat with you. I learned a lot about you through Chrissy and all your accomplishments, and then I did some more reading, and it's like, wow. Could really talk for hours. And then you have this Australian accent, which, let alone, I think my audience will just appreciate listening to you for the next hour. Let's just kind of start by, maybe letting the people know, my audience, who you are and your background, and kind of how did you get to be to where you are now?
Oh, man, that's such a long, complicated story.
We have time, Paul.
Yeah, all right. Well, like you said, I'm Australian. I actually moved out here to the US about 4 years ago when Discovery Channel gave me a contract. And that was pretty cool because it was always something I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You grow up in Australia watching American movies, watching American TV, and then to come out to LA and see all the signs and you see places there. So it's just awesome. I'm so blessed to be able to live out here. But I as a young kid, I got into a lot of trouble.
Okay.
Normally as you're pretty good until you hit about 14 or 15, and then you discover girls and drinking and smoking. And my hometown was the only state in Australia where marijuana was decriminalized, and so there was weed everywhere.
How long ago was that?
70s, 80s. Wow. Yeah. Funny enough, it's where the politicians sit as well. It's the capital of Australia. Also, fireworks and other things are decriminalized there as well. So it was a funny place to grow up.
They live there, but then tell everyone else they can't.
Yeah, exactly. And it was such a hotbed of. It wasn't really racial unrest. It was just everyone had their clique. Like everyone's stuck in their groups.
Very segregated.
Yeah. And so I grew up in a neighborhood of majority Aboriginals, and there was a lot of Islanders there. And so I had a very mixed friendship amongst all realms. But it was, we'd go out on the town and it'd be the Tongans fighting the Samoans, the Aboriginals fighting the white guys, the Serbs fighting the Macedonian. It was all crazy. It was just rolling brawls all weekend. And so me and my friends got into a lot of trouble and drinking and all that sort of stuff. And I ended up getting kicked out of home at 17. And I flunked, my last 2 years of high school. But not because I'm a dummy, but just because I didn't apply myself and I just wasn't interested. But I was really, really well read. I read all the time. And so I knew about this amazing world out there, but I didn't know how to be a part of it because I was stuck in Canberra. And it all came to a head one night. I went to a party for a farewell for a friend of mine who was being deported out of the country for criminal activity, and I got jumped by 20 guys.
So that it was like I have a friend, and we had to kick him out.
This is the quality of friends I had. I was working behind a bar that was run by an outlaw motorcycle gang. So. Yes, and I'm I wasn't a big guy or anything like that. So
you weren't the kind of intimidating figure that you are.
Not at all, not at all. Like I got bullied at school. It wasn't until about 15 I started doing Muay Thai, like kickboxing, and learned how to fight and look after myself. But I got jumped by 20 guys, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I got to get out of here. I'm going to be dead or in jail by the time I'm 23. And so I removed myself from this environment that I'd become a product of, and I threw everything I owned, which wasn't much, into a tiny little car that I had no license for, and I drove 12 hours north to a town called Brisbane. And my friend Matt had a job waiting for me there behind a bar in a strip club, and I became a rapper. As you do.
As one does.
Yeah. As one does. That part.
I needed
Nick, your upbringing so similar.
Yeah. And we did some cool stuff.
When you say you became a rapper, you say it as if you're like you fell into it, but did you have a passion for it? Were you like into the music? Like what made you think?
My first album was Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather. On cassette. Okay. And after that, I was just hooked. Okay. And so I grew up on rap music.
Okay.
And so I dabbled in it a little bit in Canberra with my best friend, but it wasn't until I went to Brisbane, and the guys that I moved in with were from LA, from New Jersey, from the Philippines, from Sri Lanka, and they were all into this. They had this rap crew going, and they were running the community hip hop shows and running nightclub Saturday night hip hop shows. And so I kind of fell in with them and put a more concerted effort into it. And we put out an EP, which was awesome. We opened up for Snoop in '98.
Okay, hold on. Time. I went to a concert with Snoop. That was cool.
Yeah.
What do you mean you opened up for Snoop?
Yeah. We did an hour and a half opening concert for Snoop in 1998.
Did you get to hang with him?
No. He said it was his wife's birthday, and so we were running the official after party. So he didn't come, but the rest of the crew came. And
did you get to smoke with Snoop?
No, with his crew. Me and the mixer or producer or something on some of his tracks had a joint rolling competition, and I beat him. I rolled a 16 paper joint. He didn't see, but I was actually rolling it around one of those glue sticks.
Oh, okay.
And then I just poured it in, and so I won. But it was a good time. I thought, this is it. I made it. I'm going to be a rapper.
Rap?
No. I still love it.
Can you drop some?
Hell no. It's not. That was 20 years ago.
Okay.
But
all right, so you're opening up for Snoop. This is like I'm gonna be a rapper.
Yeah.
I've made it.
Not a lot of money in white rappers in Australia in 1998. And so as much as we tried, we just couldn't get a deal or anything, and we didn't have enough money to do the independent albums, and it all just fell to pieces. And I was back to working behind a bar, and I was just like, shit, is this it? Is this as good as it gets? And I was just lost. And so as you do sometimes when you're a bit lost, I called Mum and asked for some advice. And she said, she recommended I talk to my brothers who were in the army. And so I called them up, and they just laughed at me. They went, there is no way you are going to make it in the army. Like, ridiculous. They said, look, but it is great. Like, if you're going to join, just don't join infantry. It's too hard. You won't make it. And so I joined infantry.
Did you do that because it was you felt the challenge, the doubt?
I did it because they said I shouldn't. I did it because I didn't know much about the army. So I didn't know you could go in and join as an officer and get a degree and that would set you up for life. I just, saw war movies and thought, I just want to be a soldier. Okay. And so I wish I'd had a little bit more guidance than that. Sure. I could have got a free degree and whatever. But I became a soldier. Went through basic training, infantry training, got posted to the parachute battalion in Sydney, did that for from 2001 to 2005. Had amazing experiences, the things that people in the real world don't get to do, like sniper courses and jungle warfare and parachuting. I got my first overseas trip as a United Nations peacekeeper and served overseas for 6 months, which was incredible, seeing how the other side live. Coming from a country like Australia and America, we have everything at the tip of our fingertips. Clean water and electricity and food. And these guys, they collected their water from a tap in the main street. Some of them collected it from the river, depending on the villages you were in. And so just gave me this incredible appreciation for everything that I had. So I went home with this, newfound happiness and drive, but it was just training and training and training. And so I decided to branch out and look for something more rewarding. And I stumbled across these guys called the clearance divers. And they're kind of like special, the top of the Navy. And I thought, I want to do that. I could have tried out for Army Special Forces, but I was just sick of being dirty and smelly and in the hot ass Australian bush all the time. And so I thought I'll go, I grew up, my dad was a swimming coach. I was a state swimmer. I'll give this underwater thing a go.
Is that like the equivalent of like a Navy SEALs that we're familiar with?
It's similar, but it's not the same. Okay. We don't do as much soldiering. We're not getting dropped in by helicopters, and that's more like the commandos. We do things like maritime tactical operations. So we'll swim into enemy terrain in the middle of the night on rebreathers, so you can't see the bubbles, and we'll do bombing raids, or we'll clear beach heads for the ships to come in, gather intelligence, and then we do mine countermeasures where we strap mines with plastic explosives. Might jump out of the helicopter, swim over to it, and blow it up. Underwater battle damage repair, which is like using all the tools you can think of underwater, like welding and cutting and drilling. And then EOD, so like the movie The Hurt Locker. So we get trained to do that as well. Jeez. Yeah. And then you can go and do Special Forces Tactical Assault Group, which is the military SWAT team. Wow. It's like one of the best roles because it's so varied. You never know what you're going to be doing from day to day. You might be jumping out of a helicopter. You might be swimming in the middle of the night. It's just really, really awesome. And then you turn up to work one day and your whole life gets flipped on its head.
Yeah. And that's kind of where you're at now. That was the shark attack you're referring to. Well, if you've been watching my Instagram, I've been roller skating the shit out of my body, and it's been fun. But I'll tell you what, I'm getting a little sore. My hips are a little tight, and I woke up this morning, immediately turned on my THERAGUN, just rubbing it out. And by rubbing it out, I mean using the THERAGUN on my wow, that could have gone. I've been using my THERAGUN. That's just all I wanted to say. I've been using my THERAGUN. That's what I mean by rubbing it out. It's truly it's a godsend. It's having and it's so easy to use. You would think, to apply it on yourself, it takes minimum effort. It helps with muscle tension, muscle pain, stiffness, tightness, and all of your body, whether it's your neck. It feels amazing. Yeah. I've been using it on my glutes, my butt, because the roller skating, any real muscle on your body, it's very easy to use. It's soothing. It's at different speeds. I can't recommend it enough. It's so great. I have their small kind of mini handheld one. Yeah. I love that one, and it works. I want to say just as good as my The main one?
Yeah.
It's so great.
Oh, you could travel with it.
Yeah, it's their travel one. And
Yeah.
it's like on a plane.
Oh, that's nice. If you get like a kink in your neck.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
You got to.
I know you love it.
You got to.
I know you love it.
Try THERAGUN risk-free for 30 days. There is no substitute for the THERAGUN Gen 4 with an OLED screen, personalized THERAGUN app, and the quiet and power you need. Ooh, that sounds fun. Starting at only $199, go to theragun.com/VIALL right now and get your Gen 4 THERAGUN today. That's theragun.com/VIALL. Theragun.com/VIALL. Rothy, I'll tell you what, I have a ton of female friends with their Rothy shoes. They're stylish, they're fun. Best of all, they're doing great things for the environment. They're made of recyclable plastic.
Yeah.
And then they're easy, and then they get dirty. You throw them in the washing machine. They're brand new and they last. It's amazing. They're comfortable. My friends love them. Eco-friendly material, repurposed plastic, like I said.
They make bags too.
They make bags?
Yeah, they make bags too. They make like really cool tote bags. They even make reversible ones.
You can tell. You can tell I'm from
like,
Wisconsin when I say bags.
Bags, yeah. But they make reversible ones. So it could be like red on one side, cobalt on the other.
2 for 1.
For all the outfits.
Rothy comes in an ever-changing array of colors, prints, and patterns. Rothy is available in a range of styles. Rothy's shoes are seamlessly knit with threads made from plastic water bottles, so they're ultra comfortable as soon as you slip them on. That's right. There's zero break-in period. Zero break-in period? That's fantastic. All I know is that a bunch of my women friends have them, and they don't shut up about them, honestly. And then it makes me really jealous because they don't make
not breaking it in, like already broken in is a huge thing.
It's huge. Girls. Well, I mean, everyone knows that about shoes. Even I know that about shoes. Anyways, check out all the amazing shoes and bags available right now at rothys.com/VIALL. That's rothys.com, ROTHY'S.com/VIALL. Style and sustainability meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/VIALL today. Now, before that, had you swam with sharks, or was this, because this wasn't like this attack, this wasn't you out swimming with sharks and something bad happened. This was you doing tactical work.
Just at work, yeah.
And not expecting this to happen.
No, not at all. And like, I was terrified of sharks. I'd never even seen one. We'd been bumped in the middle of the night when we're swimming through Sydney Harbour and stuff, but you just kind of ignore it and go, no, that wasn't a shark. It was just my dive buddy's fin.
Really? So you're that this would happen?
Oh, yeah. But we would swim for hours all through the Sydney waters in the middle of the night. Some of it is amazing. You'll have 3 guys tied to you in formation, and then you'll have another 4 guys swimming up and behind you in formation as well. And we'll swim like that for hours, going to do reconnaissance training and stuff like that. And you might look across and you won't be able to see anyone next to you, but depending on where you are, you might see the green glow of luminescent algae as it hits your dive buddy, and it's just beautiful to swim through. But
occasionally you'd bump into something.
Yeah. So we had a small dive team up in Cairns, which is northern Australia as well, where the crocodiles are. And a few of the guys have had their fins snatched off by crocodiles over the years as well. So, Sydney's well known for its sharks. And so it's just, it could potentially happen, but because it's never happened before, you're kind of playing that numbers game like, nah, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And then I went to work one morning in 2009 and a freaking bull shark attacked me.
Pulled your leg and arm.
Yeah. So I was on the surface. I was doing what we call surface swimming, like finning. I was on my back in my black wetsuit and a pair of black fins, just kicking my legs, going from point A to point B for testing some new equipment. And a bull shark came up from underneath me and grabbed me from the top of my right knee all the way up to almost my hip. On the back of my right leg, and it got my hand in its mouth at the same time. And so I couldn't even fight it off because it had my hand, and I couldn't reach the eye with my left. I tried to grab it by the nose and sort of lever it off my leg, but that just pushed the teeth of the lower jaw deeper into my hamstring. And I went to punch it in the nose, but I guess it decided I was food at that point and decided to eat me for breakfast before I'd even had breakfast.
Do you have any idea how big this shark was?
The scientists measured the bite mark in my leg in my wetsuit, and they said it was 2.723 meters, so anyway, around 9 foot. Yeah,
so it's giant.
Bit bigger than me.
Yeah. Wow.
And these things are made of muscle. That's 600 pounds.
Yeah.
And they're designed to kill things. It's like a angry, bitey water missile.
Do you, I'm assuming in traumatic situations, I haven't experienced anything remotely close. I did that last week.
Holy Starbucks. You just...
Paul just spilled his Starbucks
Got
drink.
T-shirts in the closet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did that
Lord.
literally last week. Literally.
Seriously? How does that happen? It just pops off by itself. You'd think I would have noticed it the first drop.
It's fine.
No, what are we going to do?
It's fine. Do you think back and is it all a blur, or did things slow down where you have a vivid recollection of the attack?
Over the years I've had, because I travel and I speak a lot, it used to be on stage. Now it's a lot of virtual conferences, but because I've had that time to sort of talk about it on stage, and I went back and I spoke to my teammates that did all the first aid on me, I've had the opportunity to delve into my memories a little bit more and try and piece it all together. I do remember when I was underwater getting eaten. It wasn't like everything slowed down. It was like all the adrenaline and all the chemicals in my brain just sped it up, and I was thinking 1,000 things in a second. And I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm not going home today. I'm going to die right now. And I remember thinking to myself, am I ready to die? And I look back on my life from where I started out as that lost kid to what I'd achieved in the Navy. And I just thought, man, I've lived 10 lives in these 31 years and I have no regrets. If I'm going to die, I'm ready to go. And so I just basically let go, and I was just waiting to die. And then the shark ripped the hamstring out of my leg and ripped off my hand. And so it wasn't attached to me, and my wetsuit made me buoyant. So I popped to the surface and I saw my safety boat, and I thought, shit, I'm not dead. I got to get out of here before it comes back and finishes me off. So I start swimming and I take a stroke, but my hand is totally gone and my arm ended at my wetsuit. And so...
And you remember looking and having that realization.
Yeah. Like all of this I remember.
Jeez.
But it's just... I've talked through it so many times. I know pretty much everything that happened. And it was a huge event, like so many different moving parts. I'm swimming back to the safety boat with one hand, my arm out of the water trying to stem the bleeding. I got to keep it above my heart, not knowing what's happened to my leg, just knowing that I can't feel it.
Yeah.
And so I'm swimming back to the boat with one hand and one leg through a massive pool of my own blood. The guys in the safety boat said it was so thick in the air, they could taste it.
The metal.
Yeah. And so they pulled me out of the water, put me in the boat, started first aid. And I'm just thinking, all I got to do is see my mate Tomo's face. I just got to, as long as I can see his face, I'm still alive. So my laser-like focus was just keep your eyes open. I think I cracked a couple of jokes. I was trying to...
He has a sense of humor while facing death.
I didn't want everyone worrying too much. So I was trying to bro, can you make sure someone looks after my motorbike? I don't think I'm riding home today. And he's just laughing at me. And they got me to the wharf, and we had all the scientists that were conducting the study, and my chief who was running the day was there, and he already thought I was dead. But then he saw me move, and the boat was an inch deep in my blood. And so he located an artery in my leg. And I still didn't know what was wrong with my leg at that point. Like, my training was good enough to know that if I looked at my leg and it was horrific, I'd probably go into shock and die. So I, against all natural instincts,
like kind of the way the brain plays in your survival.
Yeah. The military trains us really well to be able to deal with very stressful situations like that.
So part of you being able to survive was your ability to remain calm.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Just to think through each section, 1, get to the boat. 2, keep your eyes open. 3, don't look at your leg.
Why? What is the psychology behind that? Is it because the body, it called itself together, or had you went into shock, would you have lost more blood? How's that work?
I was already losing a lot of blood. And so when you go into shock, when you see things like that, even when we hear things like that, you can pass out. I've had people pass out listening to my presentations while driving a van around New Zealand. Like just from me telling the
You're
story.
listening to this podcast in a car. Put your seatbelt on.
So
if you're not wearing.
if you look up and you see your own body torn to shreds, that, you know, our mind is such a powerful tool. What can happen is it'll take all the blood away from your external limbs, drive it to the organs that need it. But if you don't have enough blood to operate all that stuff anyway, then you can just die. That's it. Your heart will just stop. Your organs shut down.
Wow. So anyways, you had this kind of wherewithal, which that even in itself is incredible.
That was a really shit day at
And then
work,
your buddy like identified the organ, and he shoved his hand like up your leg, right? Like I think I saw that.
Yeah, the new guy as well. My chief was like, Lockie, you gotta stop that bleeding. So he had to stick his hand into my leg and grab the artery that was squirting blood and hold it closed for 10 minutes until the paramedics arrived. So it's like something he said he never ever wants to do again. You know, two of the guys. So it was 3 guys in the boat. There was Lockie, there was Tomo, and Darty. We have like all very Australian nicknames: Locko, Tomo, and Darty. 2 of them never dove again. Yeah,
as a result of watching that experience.
Yeah, and so paramedics finally arrived. I nearly died in the back of the ambulance because I had lost so much blood and they'd given me so much morphine for the pain that my blood pressure was so low, and I started not being able to breathe. And one of the paramedics, amazing guy, coached me through it, kind of like turned into a bit of a Lamaze class in the back of the ambulance, and they got me through. And then I just went straight into emergency surgery. Yeah. Luckily, the hospital was only about 10 minutes away.
And then that recovery process was a whole nother battle.
Yeah. Well, the worst part was I had my leg still. You know, the whole hamstring was gone, but I could see my leg. And I had it for a week, but it was just the foot was going darker and darker. And so I started preparing myself for a worst case scenario. And then the doc came in and it's like, you know, you gotta make this choice. I can't do this for you. You know, we can save the leg and cover it with a skin graft, but your life will suck. You know, you'll never run again. You'll walk with a limp. It'll just be horrible. You can't even feel your leg. And so we can potentially have your leg taken off and have you walking on a prosthetic and even running potentially within a year. And so I just looked at him high on morphine and ketamine, said, Doc, you can take my leg. Turn me into a Terminator.
Have you watched Terminator since and like felt more relatable to?
I see some of these awesome movies like RoboCop where the guy's on the treadmill running with these 2 robot legs, and I'm just like, damn, I wish technology was that good now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, it's gotten better. Right?
Oh, it's absolutely gotten better. It has stalled somewhat, though.
Yeah. So, and now, like, this is your new normal, right?
Yeah.
And your life, you know, watching some of your speeches and interviews, I don't want to sound like an over, but do you feel as like a rebirth almost in terms of how you've approached life and how this has affected your life, whether it's from a negative or a positive aspect?
Not really like a rebirth. You know, I'd had so many changes previous to that, you know, getting shuffled around with my family because Dad was a cop, and then, you know, leaving home, and then, you know, just thinking I'm going to be a rapper, then that dream shut down, and then joining the army. Sure. And then so many things. I was used to change. Okay. And I actually realized that change can be a really great thing if we embrace it. In saying that, I bawled my eyes out more nights than I can even tell you, with pain and frustration, and, you know, because I was looking down the barrel of losing my whole career, and that was everything I'd fought so hard for, and I didn't know what else I would have if I didn't have that.
We're living in a content creating world, and I'll tell you what, you got all this content, you're putting it together, and then you put all this hard work into it, you want to make it beautiful, and then, oh God, then you have to change it for all your different platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, God only knows what other platforms I don't even know exist. Well, if you're any type of content creator, whether you're in marketing, whether, you know, you're just a civilian who's just like wants to get their gram going and your other stuff going, I'll tell you what, Issuu is the platform for you. You live to create, but you don't live to worry over the last nitpicky details involved in putting final touches on content. So do what you do best and let Issuu handle the rest. There also can rhyme. Issuu is an all-in-one platform to create and distribute beautiful digital publications, from brochures to magazines to sales collateral and more. It's perfect for creators, marketers, designers, educators, publishers, salespeople, or anyone who wants to make eye-catching content. Issuu is used by millions of people to discover new content. You'll reach even more readers once you publish with Issuu. Best of all, it's free. To get started with Issuu, go to issuu.info/VIALL to sign up for your free account. That's issuu.info/VIALL to sign up and let them know you heard about it from our show. Remember, that's .info, not .com. Very important. Go to issuu.info/VIALL to set up your free account today. So here you've lost your leg, you've already lost your arm, and most of it was your thought processes are like, what do I do next?
Yeah. Well, it was I got to get back to work.
Really?
That was it.
There was no even a mindset of
no. Like 2 days after I had my leg chopped off, the surgeon came into my room and found me doing one-arm chin-ups on the bar above my bed, because I'd had 2 days to think about it, and I'm like, I can't lay here being a victim. If I don't do something, I know the slippery slope of depression. When I was a teenager, I was a self-harmer, because I was so depressed, but getting bullied at school. The house was so strict. All boys Catholic school was so strict, and I had no control over my life. And I used to go home and I used to slash my arms up with a hobby knife. And so I know how slippery that slope is, and I was not going to let myself go down that rabbit hole. There's so many things about my life, as a teenager and stuff, I always regretted and I was always sad about. But it's amazing how powerful those things and those struggles that we've been through can come into play to help you be more resilient in your future lives. And so that actually helped me to not allow myself to stick with the negative thoughts so much, because they are really sticky. They're really easy. They're so much easier to be negative than it is to be positive and see everything through rose-colored glasses. But I knew the more I practiced it, the better I would get at it. And so I just started training.
So for the people listening in this world, because we live in this kind of world right now where it feels negative. It feels like we get in our thoughts, who haven't lost their arms and legs.
It's a hand. It's not an arm. Yeah, it's just a hand.
Okay.
Yeah. All of this.
Well,
has
then you have
to hold
nothing to complain about.
Exactly. All right.
But for the people who self-pity, is a real dangerous thing that we all, I know I do. But from your perspective, it's a big part of it is just trying to make that choice to not do it and fight through it. And then just,
Well, that's the only power we truly have, our power of choice.
Yeah.
So how are you going to utilize that power? Are you going to choose a shit life? Are you going to choose a good life? Like it's, working out what I was going to do while I was in hospital and how I was going to get my job back and all that sort of stuff. It was so complicated. I was scared of people staring at me, of self-pity, of like, how am I ever going to get a girlfriend? No woman's going to want a one-legged, one-handed guy. Just all of these horrible thoughts in my head. But it was so complicated. But I'm not a complicated guy. And so I stick to my strengths. I'll make it simple. Okay, I need a simple choice. What do I want? And we can make this choice every day of our life. What do I want? Do I want a good life or do I want a bad life? It's that simple. And if you want a good life, then you figure out how to make it good and you follow that path. You practice it. You get better every time you practice it. It's like playing a sport or doing a podcast.
Sure.
The more you do it, the better you get at it. Now, emotions are no different to a physical movement. We practice it, we get better at it. So you practice your happiness, you practice your joy, you practice your motivation and positivity. Like you were saying, you get up in the morning and you go to the gym. We were talking earlier offline, like it becomes a habit. If you don't do it, then you feel shit. It's the same with your emotions. If you don't practice your motivation, your happiness, seeing things through a light, like, everyone wants to be around people that will uplift them. Or why don't you be that light that you want to see in other people, and then you can uplift them, and then there's two of you. And so it just gets easier the more you practice it, just like anything else.
Makes a lot of sense. That's great. And so now you are you're active. I saw a video of talking about breathing and running. You were saying you used to do marathons before your accident,
Yeah.
and there's something in your message which I really appreciated, like whether you're talking about running or whether you're talking about surfing. The challenge might be a little harder now, given your accident, but you really emphasize the experience of doing it. It might be harder to surf or whatever, but just going out there and the attempt, the effort, just kind of being out there is something you've really learned to appreciate.
Yeah. I think as we get older, we become more impatient with ourselves because we just want to be able to do everything straight away. But we don't feel like that as kids, do we? Like
I guess that's a great point.
When you're learning to skateboard or you're learning a new sport,
I'm roller skating right now, Paul.
How's that working out for you?
Quite well.
Yeah?
I've been getting good. Yeah, it's
pretty good.
Do you live down by the beach as well?
I live in Venice Beach. Yeah.
Oh, I'm at Marina Del Rey.
Oh yeah, we'll have to hang out.
So I'm always down at Venice walking my dog.
Great.
But I see like everyone out on their rollerblades and roller skates and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but you're right. I'm thinking about that, and there's like a frustration of, or there's more as an adult. What I've gotten worse at, that I've gotten worse, but challenged myself to do better. Where as adults, you're like, well, I'm too old, or like I'm never going to learn that, so I don't try.
Yeah.
But as kids, we're just like, yeah, sure, I'll try. I don't care.
Exactly.
I'll fail. I'll fall, and we'll just figure it out. But as adults, we just decide that we're too old or it's too late to do anything new.
We'll take that feeling and then multiply it by 1,000, because I'd come from a guy that could physically do anything that was asked of me. Like you said, like I ran 100 kilometers up and down the biggest mountains in Tasmania as a race for part of the Navy team, and I didn't train for it, and I beat everyone on my team. I was that capable, and then I couldn't walk, and I didn't have a leg, and I didn't have a hand. I couldn't tie my shoelaces. I couldn't cook. I couldn't do anything. And so one of the biggest lessons I had to learn was patience and perseverance. You've got to give yourself time to learn how to do these things, whether it be work, whether it be becoming a better parent or a better partner or things like that. You have to be more patient with other people as well, because I had to learn to walk. I had to learn to drive a car, everything. Going to the gym with one hand and one leg can really throw out your bench press and squats.
Really?
Yeah. And so I had to relearn how to use my whole body. And the Army taught me a really good mantra back in basic training, and that was improvise, adapt, and overcome. And so I had to utilize that. I couldn't weight bear on the end of my arm to do push-ups, and so I thought, okay, I'll adapt. I'll improvise. And I grabbed a bench and I pulled that in, I put my elbow on it, and I did push-ups like that. I couldn't hold a dumbbell. And so I went on to the internet, the wealth of the world's knowledge, where you can learn to do everything. So I found a lifting hook that the bodybuilders use for deadlifts, and I put the loop around my forearm, and then the hook would hang down, and I could put a dumbbell in it to do curls. We all know curls get the girls, and so you got to work those pipes. And so, the patience and perseverance really, really is an important part of not limiting yourself to what you can achieve, because we are far greater and more capable than what we give ourselves credit for. We don't apply ourselves like we did when we were younger, because we want everything like this. It's an instantaneous world now.
Self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah. And so that's why I do everything I do.
Yeah.
I don't go into the gym to inspire people. I go in there to work out. But a byproduct of that is people seeing me with this big steel hook on my arm and my robot leg, and then they train harder, and they come up and they say thank you and compliment me. And I didn't expect it. I just went in to work out. But it's an awesome byproduct of
Sure. Yeah. And so obviously, as you kind of mentioned, people are reacting to you differently by seeing your prosthetics. Is there a downside to that ever? I mean, obviously the motivation, but do you get a lot of annoying questions all the time?
Yeah.
What are some of the most annoying questions you get asked? Did it hurt?
And look at.
I hope you have just a smart ass answer.
I mean that's amazing. Listen, I've not to compare your tragedy, but like I've lived some unique experience on that show. I get a lot of silly questions, and it's hard for me. Some of my friends do a better job than I do, because I'll just get asked questions, and I'll just like my face just
Yeah.
looks a certain way, like a dick. I'm like, really? Did you ask me that? I couldn't imagine someone asking you, did it hurt? Seriously. And they're probably being serious when they ask you.
Well, you know what? After a while, I thought about it, and, you know, their mindset is, oh, the adrenaline would have cancelled out the pain. And so I'm like, okay, I understand it a bit better now.
Sure.
And I try to be more patient, but, you know, some days you just don't want to talk about it. And so it doesn't matter if you know me from Shark Week or whatever. Like, if I'm walking down the street, everyone's staring at me, because how often do you see a half robot dude walking down the street? No. And so I realized I could either like hate it and be sad and angry and have a scowl on my face, or I could pin my shoulders back and
embrace it.
Yeah. And like, instead of people going, oh, that poor guy, they'll be like, holy fuck, look at that cyborg, you know, and I can shift their perception like that.
I mean, you look really badass, right? Yeah. Like you do. Like, I mean, it looks really cool. I don't, you know, but
it's pretty good technology. You know, it's a no better time to be an amputee than now. But I can't wait for what the future brings out. But yeah, I get the stupid questions sometimes. Like, I won't go to parties and barbecues because I don't know the majority of the people there, and I don't want to have to go through the same. It's the same.
There's always that moment in the night where, like, even you go out, everyone's pretty sober. It's 11 o'clock. All of a sudden it's 12:30, and you're probably like, I get the fuck out of here, because then all of us, it's that liquid courage of
nothing good happens after midnight anyway.
You know what? I have the best question for him. We're gonna be best friends.
Yeah.
And then they come up to you and ask you if it hurt. I think part of it is a panic too. They're
not
nervous,
knowing what to say,
and then there's a like. You know, and
but then some people are just rude as well. You know, I had a guy come up to me in Whole Foods one day, stare me right in the face, say, "What happened to your leg?" And it's like, "What happened to your fucking manners?" Yeah, so I was dating a girl in the early days, and she was all about it, and she was amazing. She stuck with me through a whole year and a half of crap. But then it was like she wanted the standard thing. She wanted to move in, then she wanted to get married, get engaged, and then get married, and then have kids, and then buy home. And I'm at that point in time, I just couldn't do it. I was like, no, I don't. That's terrifying to me. Sure. I need to prove to myself that I can be more than what I am right now, because I went back to work with the Navy after 6 months, and they said, you can go work 3 half days a week. And I was like, no, I got to prove myself. So I just went 5 full days a week and worked my ass off for 3 years, but it was just slowly killing me, trying to keep up with everyone all the time, sometimes 80-hour weeks. We go to bed at 2 a.m, up at 6 to go back to work after, doing push-up. When you get punishments at the Navy Dive School, you get push-ups. And so we're doing, 1,200 push-ups after midnight. And then I got to go home and then get up and go do PT in the morning. So it was killing me. And so I had to prove to myself that I could be by myself. And so we ended up breaking up. And then it was just me. I was just kind of bouncing around, and I've actually had more success with girls since the shark attack. And you know what? I don't think it's got anything to do with me. I think people are attracted to confidence and happiness.
Sure.
And so I had been practicing that in abundance. And so even though I didn't feel confident on the inside and I wasn't always happy, I was constantly trying to practice it and get better at it. And so even if I was faking it,
fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. The more faking it is just practicing.
Yeah.
And so, I've had a couple of great girlfriends over the years. I ended up dating Miss Delaware for 2 years.
Great.
She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever dated in my life. Loved her to death.
Delaware.
Yeah.
Delaware.
But she was a triplet too, so she had these 2 stunning sisters. But then she moved out to Australia, and things just got a little bit awkward as relationships do. It just wasn't working out. And so I moved on from that. Met another great girl when I moved out here. Dated her for about 1.5 years, and she's incredible. We're still great friends to this day. And then I was just like, I'm not going to even look. And then, that's when you stumble into someone special. And so now I've got this incredible girlfriend.
And I think the biggest takeaway of all that is, like you said, I mean, for all the fears that you had right after your accident about your dating life and things like that, that really sounds like it really had no actual effect. It was really just more of a mind frame, and whatever problems you had in your dating life, or if it just didn't work out because of compatibility, it was just like any other person, but it had more to do with your approach to it and your mentality towards it.
Yeah. And obviously I had probably not serious, but moderate self-confidence issues because of, my robot limbs and all that sort of stuff. But, and I try and hide it, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just can't be bothered. And those moments are actually better than when you try and hide it, when you just let your walls down. And
I was just about to ask that in terms of like, have you been able to, your confidence in showing vulnerability, has that drastically changed since this happened?
It's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my good friends, I was doing speaking in Australia, and my friend Lane Beachley, who's a 7-time world surfing champion, and I have so much respect for her because of not just surfing stuff, but what she's achieved afterwards with her foundations and public speaking and stuff. And so I spoke at one of her charity events, and it was one of my early ones, and I met up with her the next day. I said, what did you think? And she said, oh, it was good. But I could see there was something in her eye. I'm like, all right, come on, spill it. She said, well, look, it was great, but you're just so damn military. You just, this happened and this happened and this happened. She's like, you got to give more of yourself. And she said something I'll never forget. She said, in vulnerability, there is strength. Yeah. And so I went home after that, and I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? Does she want me to cry on stage? Fuck that. I'm a soldier. We don't do that. But, I respect her so much. I took it on board and I really thought about it. And the next one I did, I really opened up about my fears and tried to relate more to how my feelings and my experience directly relates to the audience and all of the struggles that we all go through in life. And men were crying, women were crying. I've had 68 people pass out. 65 of them men. But yeah, that vulnerability, allowing the walls to come down is actually such a great strength, and has taught me how to be better in a relationship because of it.
Yeah. It's like one of the most confident things we can do is to, at moments, say, I don't feel confident right now. I don't, like, that takes a lot, because oftentimes we have a hard time just putting that out there. Because that's the scary part. Just like, what bugs you? Well, nothing. I'm not.
Yeah, that's the old way, but we all know where that path leads because it's been leading there for generations before us. The silent masculine male leads. It's just not healthy at all. It leads to depression and PTSD and alcohol abuse and possibly domestic abuse and all those sort of things. So why would you want that? Just let it go. Like, put it all out there into the universe and let the fucking universe deal with it instead of keeping it in here in your little universe.
Yeah. Has your approach on masculinity really changed?
Oh, yeah. Dude, I was like the epitome of a fighting, grunting, swearing soldier. Like, we don't show feelings. What are they? They're for civilians. You just fight through the pain, shove it down deep. So yeah, totally, man. Like you just said, one of the most confident things you can do is let down your walls and be vulnerable. And I totally agree with that.
And so now in your career, you're one of the hosts of Shark Week. You're doing motivational speaking. Before we kind of have some fun and finish things off with Shark Week, but what are some of the things that are a big focus when you're speaking at corporate events, and how do you kind of tie it all into the men and women that you're speaking to?
Well, I'm not the sort of speaker that jams information down your throat. I like to be a lot more subtle than that. And so I go through the stories a lot like we have today, but a little more in depth. And I try and make each section a bit of a lesson, so that it ties directly into people's lives. So the reason I do the bit at the start when I'm talking about me growing up is because either people in the audience have gone through that as well, with the self-harming and the bullying, and so they can identify with that and feel like they're not alone. And two, and like it's not normal and they can let go of that. Two, a lot of them have got kids that are going through it right now and they don't know how to deal with it. And so I give them a little bit of relief to think that if they just keep loving their kids, then eventually it'll all work out. And so not to panic, So every little part of that journey has a lesson that hopefully will identify with my audience, and they can just take what they want out of it. And so everyone goes through shit. My story is no bigger or better than anyone else's. It's not better than yours. It's just different. But the tools that we can use to get through these struggles and bad times are all the same. You know, sometimes you just need the right tools, and often that tool is simply the right mindset. And so I try and help people with their mindsets of looking at struggles, looking at change as an opportunity for growth instead of an uncomfortable thing you should fight against. So all of it, you know, sort of ties in really well, and I get incredible responses. Every job I've had in America when I was on stage was standing ovation, had lines of people across the room to get the book, and so that makes me feel like I'm doing my job right.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
How have you adapted to kind of the new normal that we're in right now with the climate being what it is? I mean, do you use the lessons you've learned in life to apply that to what's going on in the world today?
I try. It doesn't always work. It's such a huge shift for a lot of people. Not so much for me because I'm not a lot changed. I stick to my very close-knit group of friends, and I spent a lot of time with my dog, a lot of time exercising. My biggest gripe was I couldn't go to the gym. And so, you know, all the home gym workouts, and yeah, it was fun for a week, and then you just get sick of working out on your apartment floor, and then the lack of funds coming in. But I was fortunate that I knew I was going to be on my own in America. And so I'd saved up a lot of money just in case I needed a buffer there. But a lot of my friends out here don't. Some of them are actors and they can't work. And, you know, the restaurants have shut down, so they couldn't get work. And so I feel better through comparison, as bad as that sounds. And, you know, I try and help them out as much as I can, but there's only so much you can do. So you have to try and embrace those spare moments that you have with positivity, and try, you know, if you sit back and just accept it and go, this sucks, lost my job, nothing's going to work out, the world sucks, it's all horrible, then you're just going to go down that rabbit hole. And so you can feel like that. There's nothing, never feel bad about feeling bad, but don't let it ruin your whole week or your whole life. You know, if it sucks, work out a plan. You know, you're not going to be able to get anywhere if you don't see the opportunity in what is happening now. And some people have really risen to that and some people haven't. But it's understandable because we've never been through this sort of thing before. And I think the biggest struggle for people is the financial thing. Yeah. If you're not worrying about that, then you've got nothing to complain about. You know, I'm not talking about illnesses and things like that. Sure. But the people that have lost all their work and lost their businesses and lost their homes, you know, they're the people that need our assistance now. Yep.
Yeah, well said. Shark Week's coming up.
On a lighter note.
Yeah, on a lighter note. It comes out in first week of August?
Yeah, August 9th.
You are hosting Shark Week?
I host a couple of documentaries that go on. So Discovery Channel gave me a contract for a bunch of years. I do 3 new shows every year, which is incredible. And then they replay my old ones as well. So it's almost like Paul Week sometimes, and some days. But it's just such an incredible opportunity adventure. I never thought that my life would be this good. I would literally pay to do the things that they pay me to do. And it's, you know, it gets better and better. You know, the people that you meet, the adventurers, the people, like I got to work with Ronda Rousey. I got to work with Will Smith. This year I got to work with Mike Tyson, which was the most terrifying thing.
I saw that. How was that? I grew up watching Mike
Tyson. Same, man. It wasn't terrifying because it was Tyson. It was terrifying because I thought he was going to die. Working with like Will Smith and Ronda Rousey, those guys, like elite athletes, still, you know, Will, you know, he's a pretty damn good athlete to be able to do Muhammad Ali and all these sort of things. Like he's fit as shit. Those people go into it with an open mind and sort of excited and stuff. And so it's great to expose their fans to sharks as well. But Mike went into it with nothing but unadulterated fear. He was throwing up before or after every dive. He was
truly afraid of what?
Truly afraid.
Wow. And I'm assuming everyone needs to watch it because it's going to be really entertaining.
It's really interesting.
And so the premise of he's kind of going up against a shark kind of thing?
Oh, man, look, that's clickbait. Like Mike Tyson's going to knock out a shark. You know,
Yeah, you mean obviously like box the shark, but
what we were going to do is teach him how to knock out a shark without using his fists. How to do it gently and peacefully. But to get him to that point where he can get that close to that many sharks, you can only do it while you're feeding him. Because if you don't have food, they're not going to swim that close to you. So we had to put him in the midst of a feeding frenzy. And I can't say anything to spoil the show because it's really, really good. And it's not just a celebrity. We're not doing this for fun. One is because we get to bring on a whole generation of Mike Tyson fans into Shark Week that will potentially watch it for the first time and learn about sharks. And you know, the more people that learn about it and see that they're not mindless killing machines, the more people will respect them. And if you respect something, you want to protect it. And so that's my main goal through working with people like Mike, is to spread the shark love. And two, you know, they were putting fin cams on the sharks. They study their movements, their mating rituals, all that sort of stuff. And so, it is a good show.
Anything else Shark Week related that you want to mention or plug?
I've got my new book coming out soon, actually, as well. Yeah. I wrote a book in 2012. It was called No Time for Fear, and it sold incredibly well. But I'm having a lot of problems getting commercial quantities into America, and I was selling bucket loads at the presentation. So now I'm working with one of my best friends, Grant Jones. He's a Welshman. He's a Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. He's got a bunch of his own books about Iraq, about Roman history. But he's also a ghostwriter for James Patterson and has New York Times bestsellers with him. So he's helping me develop and rewrite the whole first part of the story and then add on the last 8 years as well. So everything moving to America, you know, dealing with fear, dealing with sharks, like what it's like to swim 110 feet deep with 4 great white sharks without a cage, you know, that sort of stuff. You know, parachuting.
With a cage and scared.
Yeah, I feel like every year it's Discovery Channel trying to decide how are we going to kill Paul this year.
Well, like it just as like a regular person. So I went to South Africa. I went on one of those tours. It was amazing. We went on a boat. We were out there for a really long time. And they're like, okay, here's this cage. You're going to get in it. And then we didn't even have breathing tubes or anything. They gave us a weight belt, actually.
What?
So it was like 7 people in a cage. They gave us like a weight. Each person had like a weight belt, and you kind of held on to this cage.
On a snorkel?
Not even a snorkel.
Oh, my Lord.
And they like threw this bait out. And then as the great white shark came, and some of them were like 16 feet, I think was like one of the biggest ones that we saw. But as they pulled the string with the food, and the shark comes straight at your face. And they say, okay, go. And you drop yourself with your weight belt down to the cage.
And hold your breath. Oh, that sucks.
And then as the shark comes at you, then you're like, okay, it went by me. And then they kick yourself back up and you like grab up again.
Well, Joe Romero, who's another one of the Shark Week guys, an amazing underwater cinematographer, he and I run trips to Guadalupe, Mexico to take people diving with great white sharks there. It's awesome. Like you've got breathing hoses. We had a 16-foot great white turn up. I think the footage from that is actually on a Nat Geo show tonight. Because she grabbed onto the whole side of the cage. And you would think people would be scared. The 3 girls in the cage didn't blink an eye. They were getting closer with their cameras, taking video of this gigantic female shark shaking the whole cage. And so me and Joe run trips down there to help people experience, and it's pretty awesome. I think if anyone's interested, we still got 6 or 7 spots open.
Yeah.
That's super cool. That people can just go and like shark dive.
You just jump on my Instagram and we have the details on there.
And then as far as when's your book come out?
I'm hoping it's going to coincide with the opening of Shark Week, so the start of August.
Can we pre-order?
Not at this point. It's going through final copy editing now, and then I've got to get it printed.
All right. Well, make sure to check out.
It's going to be called Uncaged.
All right. Make sure to check out Paul's book. Make sure to check out his Instagram. Make sure to check out Shark Week. When's Shark Week start?
August 9th.
August 9th.
Yeah. The Tyson show's on opening night. So don't miss that.
Yeah, that's what I saw that. I wasn't sure if that was the beginning or the end of Shark Week.
Yeah, that's the start.
Okay. Do you have time for one more game, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you know me with Paul de Gelder? It's terrible Australian accent.
You're like Steve Irwin off South Park.
Yeah. you imagine like trying to fake an Australian accent to meet a girl and just sound creepy and weird?
People do it all the time.
Yeah. I don't because I know that I'm not good at it. All right. Question number 1. Has Paul or does Paul ever have an imaginary friend as a child? And if he has one now, I'm going to guess no, he doesn't have one now.
Probably not now.
As a kid, did he ever? I'm going to say no.
After hearing the history, I'm going to say no too. I don't think he had an imaginary friend.
Kinda. We'd because we lived in Canberra and all our family was in Melbourne, we'd do trips down to Melbourne. It's like a 12-hour, 10-hour drive in the van because there were 6 of us. And so to keep me occupied, I had this guy who used to ride along next to the car, and he had a bike that could transform into a skateboard or into a surfboard, and he'd just sort of like do tricks alongside the car as much as, you know, I needed some entertainment. And like if we went off a bridge, his bike would turn into a surfboard and go in the ocean.
So I guess
kinda.
That sounds like a yes.
That sounds like a yes.
Sounds like a
He was
yes.
a part-time imaginary friend.
All right. That was a softball, Paul. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, here's another softball. Has Paul ever popped someone else's pimple? I'm going to say yes, because it's, for me, one of the greatest thrills of all time.
Really? I think it's so gross. I hope not.
Hysterical.
I'm going to say no. It's so gross.
I'm going to say yes.
I have, but I agree with you. I have done it because it's been friends, but
So satisfying.
It's so
no, it's so
like I get
it's
chills
gross.
just thinking about it. So gross.
Okay, I guess I'm the weird one. All right. Has Paul ever been punished with community service? So you said he was a troublemaker, but I don't know if he ever...
Yeah. Or in the army, sometimes if you don't do something or if you like
That's not community
disobey,
service.
would that
Push-up.
be like community?
No, community service is like you're on the freeway picking up garbage.
They do that actually.
Yeah. What if you have to
but
go and like clean
community
the bathroom?
Yeah, they do that. You got to do community service on the base.
Okay.
Say
But no,
no.
no.
All right.
I never got caught, and the 2 times that I did get caught shoplifting, the first time they called my parents out of respect for my dad's position as a police officer, and she said, "Just call the police." But no, I did go to court once for smashing an unshutterable bus shelter window during a fight, but I just got a good behavior bond for 6 months.
All right. Question number 3. Has Paul ever had sex on the beach?
I'm gonna say yes. He's around like beaches all the time.
Yeah, right? I'm going to say yes.
Absolutely. Under the stars on a blanket in the sand dunes. Oh,
Nice.
talk about romantic.
Question number 4. Has Paul ever had a bowl cut?
A bowl cut?
A bowl cut.
Like a bowl haircut?
We're relatively in the same age group. You know, bowl
Yeah.
cuts were real popular when I was a kid.
Me too. My mom used Scotch tape on our hair to make the bowl cut.
I'm going to say Paul has had a bowl cut.
I'm going to say no.
Absolutely, I have.
Man, this is
We were poor, man. 6 people on a policeman's
bowl cut.
wage.
I had a rat tail
Yeah.
for a
Yeah?
moment. Yeah.
a rat tail?
Yeah.
Never
It
had
was
those.
it was the hair long on top,
Yeah.
shaved around,
Yeah.
bowl cut, rat tail coming out from the
man.
shaved.
I mean, hello, Wisconsin.
And it sounds crazy, but I got a lot. It was like, that's so cool, man. I was like, I know. Wild.
Something to hold on to when the guy's having sex with you.
Well, I was 9 so
Yeah, that went wrong.
So maybe not that time.
No.
at the time, but yeah, now sure.
No, sure.
Let's see. Last question. Can Paul name 3 characters from Game of Thrones?
Cersei Lannister. Oh,
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because immediately he's like, I can do this.
Oh, come on, 3? And anyone?
I never
can name
watched it.
3. Oh, you didn't watch it at all?
Watched it?
I started once and I just didn't. I'm sure I'll get into it.
I fought against it for probably 2 seasons because everyone was talking. I don't like being a part of like everyone's.
I was kind of the same.
Oh, have you seen the new episode? No, I just can't do it. And oh Lord. All right, so we're just talking between you and me now.
You can't know. You could probably name 7 or something.
Oh, yeah, I can name a few. I did kick into it and watch the whole thing after about season 3. But yeah, Cersei, the Mountain, Arya Stark, Like Ned Stark. Like I could just go through the Starks.
I'm gonna do one more because I saw this question. I think it's pretty good.
All right, I'll try not to answer it too quick.
Don't. Has Paul ever toilet papered a house?
A car. Why did I answer that?
Really?
Come
bad
on,
at
give me
this
one
game.
more go. Give me one more go.
What do you mean you
so
toilet
eager
paper?
to please
What
you.
do you,
Toilet paper in a car?
what do you mean you toilet papered a car?
It was on base, and my friend parked his Toyota Celica right in front of our barracks, and so we did unspeakable things to it, and not just toilet paper.
We had this thing in high school, junior senior wars. And it was exactly what it was. For like the week of homecoming, the juniors and the seniors would toilet paper each other's houses. It got out of control where like there was like 20 cars of like driving around to people's houses.
Oh, wow.
And parents would get really mad. And then there was we were juniors at the time, and I'll never forget this. He was a popular kid, and we just wanted to, and he's like, you're not going to get my house, and they guarded up. So like 5 of our friends woke up at like 4 a.m. Like because they were expecting it. And we got like just barrels of toilet paper, and we spent an hour toilet papering the whole thing to the point where it was bad. It was so much toilet paper and trees that it took months for it to go away. And we put plastic forks in the lawn. It was really.
Did you come from a well-off family?
No, middle class.
Okay.
It was, but we weren't. I have 10 siblings, so
What?
I don't have a memory.
10?
Yeah, I don't have a memory of my parents not being stressed out about money.
Oh,
but at the same time,
seriously?
I had I was relative to the world. I was a very lucky kid, but
It
had to get by.
It sounds like something well-off kids would do. We were more like sneaking out the windows in the middle of the night to break into cars to sell things to people like
Where
you.
I grew up was
So we could have money.
People like you.
Yeah, where I grew up was very upper suburbia. Like in relative to the world, we had very little to complain about. So probably it was very we had things we had time to tell people.
So I failed your really simple game.
It's okay.
Feeling just
we still listen. The goal you didn't fail because we still learned.
We
about
learned
you.
things about you.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Paul, I really appreciate it. It's been a ton of fun. You obviously are an inspiration to people out there, and so much about life as we get older is about perspective and how we apply our thoughts to our own lives. And obviously, you do such a great job of that. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, mate.
Obviously, don't forget to check out Paul's book when it comes out. Check him out on Shark Week. Follow him on Instagram. Where can people find you on Instagram?
Hold a Gelder.
And until next time, we appreciate you listening. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K, for our Ask Nick episodes. And if there's nothing else, we will see you on Monday.